political analyst Ongama Mtimka, who joins us now via Skype. Ongama, good evening, and thanks for your time tonight. Certainly a dramatic day for the council overall. Did you at all anticipate that we would end the day off here where we have a completely new mayor?
Well, after the successful vote by the opposition to pass a no confidence against Jonathan Lawak, this was the expectation. But the event the council meeting went into uncharted legal terrain as the questions arose about whether the firing of Manyati, the councillor that didn't vote with the DA, was admissible during the council meeting. Remember, he had started the council meeting as a legitimate councillor of the Democratic Alliance, and there were questions in the middle of the day as to whether he was a duly participating councillor. And at that stage, we didn't expect that we could still have an outcome today that results in the mayor and his mayoral committee booted out.
You know, speaking of those legal questions, throughout the day, I also know that there were questions over the authority of the individual who stood in as the acting speaker on behalf of Lawak and the powers that they had to actually oversee this process. Do you think the questions of legality, where all of this voting is concerned, have been thoroughly dealt with to make what has happened here credible and legitimate?
Well, there is enough legal ambiguities in the Structures Act throughout all the issues pertaining today for each of the sides to challenge any aspect of the council meeting, except for the voting out of Jonathan Lawak. The only thing where it was what was clear cut is the voting out of Jonathan Lawak, the former speaker. But if you look at, for example, the Structures Act with respect to who can preside over a council meeting once a speaker has been booted out, it's very clear that the municipal manager can do so and cannot adjourn the meeting until that has been done. The only provision made in the Structures Act for the ending of the council meeting without a new speaker is when there's a deadlock about two contending candidates getting the same number of votes, in which case a council meeting must be called within 7 days. But in this case, that was not the case. And the municipal manager apparently left the meeting on the basis that it didn't correct because it didn't recognize the DA councillor who still remained. And there's a provision in the law that says a deployee sent by the MEC can preside over a meeting when the municipal manager is not available. Now, the question will be whether Johan Metler had officially ended the council meeting and therefore it was illegal, or he had staged a walkout himself and justified the intervention by the MEC to send somebody to preside over the council meting.
You know, while we talk about those issues of legality, which it sounds like still need to be explained, perhaps, with further clarity, the DA unquestionably sits with a big headache tonight.
Yes, and they have themselves to blame for that, Kathy. I think this is a huge and very costly lesson for the Democratic Alliance. Throughout the time, the differences between Mayor Ethel Trollip and then Deputy Mayor Mongameli Bobane surfaced. The DA dismally failed to manage the relationships politically. And in instances where they got a reprieve, they didn't follow up logically to secure their position. So they continued to make themselves vulnerable to changes in this municipality and dilly-dallying about whether they were going to consolidate the new arrangements they had, for example, with the Patriotic Alliance initially, which collapsed and then again saved them. So they have themselves to blame for this. And I think the biggest lesson for them is that, for any party, in fact, don't take bold political action that weakens you when you don't have a very clear strategy to regain sustainability and stability in a municipal council. Otherwise, they could have survived for some time with the executive confrontation between the then deputy mayor and Ethel Trollip, because in that time, at least they weren't as vulnerable in council because they had a buffer of 2 seats.
All right, that's where we'll leave it for tonight. And it's incredible what the buffer of 2 seats can do, especially following that vote that, of course, booted out Ethel Trollip. And now Mongameli Bobane is the man in charge in the Nelson Mandela Bay Council.